Well, welcome to Tax Day, Indianapolis Motor Speedway fans. Not one of our favorite days of the year, but one of the things that is a favorite thing for us during the year is talking to some of our favorite NTT IndyCar Series drivers. And I have one of my favorites, and I know one of your favorites with me right now, Jack Harvey. Jack, thanks for joining us. It's April. Your birthday was just a few days ago.
Yeah.
And now it's Tax Day.
30 years old in the 30 car.
That's
pretty cool, right?
That is pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Now you need to be 30 years old in the 30 car and pick up an Indy 500 win.
That sounds pretty good, and maybe if we keep saying it, it might will it into existence.
You know, one of the things I love about you is your attitude is always positive. And I know last year was a bit of a struggle up and down, but I never saw you where you weren't positive and focused on putting stuff behind you and going forward.
Well, yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, we're pretty lucky that we get to call driving in this series a job. I mean, it's literally that simple. You can break these things down any which way you want to, but I feel like people will trade me quite quickly, and they're also quick to let me know that sometimes, but never we have to get to that point. But yeah, I mean, even a bad day truly is it's a privileged day nonetheless. You know, and last year wasn't what we were hoping for, especially with all the expectation. However, we've got an opportunity to try again this year, and while there's an opportunity to keep trying, I'm going to go about it with a smile on my face, with gratitude in my heart, and just crack on.
That's what I've always loved about you. I mean, mentioned 2013 we were talking at Abu Dhabi when you were in GP3 and Connor was in GP3, and then you came over and we saw you and your dad at Houston for an Indy Lights race. And I can't remember, did you wear a cowboy hat or no?
My dad got a cowboy hat.
That's right. I knew one of you had the cowboy hat.
And then when we went to Nashville last year, he finished it off with the boots and the buckle.
So you've dragged him over here to the U.S., but it was hot that weekend.
It was.
And then you actually ended up spending a little time in our basement, and we went on Thanksgiving together. We went skiing.
We went to Vail. Yeah.
So we had a great time. It's been fun to get to know you, and Beth absolutely loves you. Feels like you're an American mom.
Thank you. She is. She totally is.
But speaking of moms, one of my coolest moments as president of Speedway was in 2019.
I know what story you're about.
The GMR Grand Prix, and you are running to the front.
Yeah.
And somewhere towards the end of that race, I run into your mom, who's panicked because you finished second, right? Third. So you're on the podium.
Yeah.
And she wants to get there, and she doesn't have the right credentials. I'm like, come on with me. I'm gonna make sure you get a chance to be there and celebrate with your kid.
If there's ever a person to be connected well to the Indy 500 or the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I feel like in that moment, her bumping into you was huge win for her that day. But I mean, the thing is, that was my first IndyCar podium. You know, so everybody was happy. It kind of feels like a special place to do it. I love IMS. I love the 500, but I love the road course there as well. You know, I live in Indy, so I really understand what that place means, not just to the motorsport community. I always knew what that meant. But when you live there and you really embrace being what feels like an honorary Hoosier, I mean, November this year will be 10 years that I've been living in America full time. I mean, that's a decade of my life. I've actually spent more time easily more time as an adult here now. So then when you get to have them incredible moments, and then you can actually celebrate with my mum, my dad, right by the podium, it's a special moment because, you know, the sacrifice of getting to this point isn't just on me. You know, it's been on them, it's been on my sister, my entire family. So, I don't know, just to be able to share that just feels like a nice, well, obviously a big thank you, but like a nice moment where perhaps they feel like also it's been a worthwhile journey.
It was pretty neat for me to see how excited she was for you and for her to be able to celebrate that. And I'm sure at that moment you're trying to say thanks to everybody and celebrate everybody, and having her there, it probably means an awful lot when you get to have your mom right there. You don't think about it. When you're strapped in the race car, you're not worried about, if I get on the podium, I got to take care of my mom.
No. But it's hilarious. Like, Yellow Shirts in May will stop me and ask me when my mum's coming out. Like, she knows no stranger. I feel like in that place she's way more famous and liked than I am, because, I mean, she'll just chat to anybody. Yep. I know we laugh and joke about it, but it is really nice because then people do take care of her and they look out for her like you did on that day. So no, it's been a journey. But like, I remember, and I've been asked it a lot the last few months, like, what's special about the Indy 500? What's your most favorite memory? And actually, Beth was the first person who took me to the 500, and it was in that November. It was dreary. It was kind of grey. They're really outside of the people touring. There really wasn't anybody there, and that was actually a really epic first impression of the Speedway because it gave you the size of it. You realise just how big this place is, and even in that month where there's not much going on, there was an atmosphere there that you realise you were on special ground. roll 6 months later, then suddenly it's race day at the Indy 500, and it blew me away.
Right.
But if I hadn't have had that appreciation for it before and really had taken in the size, the specialness of it, you wouldn't then maybe appreciate it on race day, because you wouldn't know why you would know why, but it's easy to see why they call it the greatest spectacle in racing.
Well, that's pretty powerful, and it is amazing when people go in there the first time they realize how big it is. We were talking off camera before this, a story that you hadn't told me before, that Houston, because it was like 110 degrees
it was
when you
so
came to
hot,
Houston,
man.
that your impression was all the racing in America is going to be this hot, we need to find somewhere else to race, and then go into the Speedway in November when the weather was a little bit better.
It was a big win.
It convinced you it's okay to race here.
Yeah, so we went to the Houston race. Me and my dad, we just jumped on a flight, came over, wanted to check out Indy Lights, wanted to check out IndyCar, met a bunch of people, and we were on the flight home, and we kind of like watching a movie, and then he starts talking to me like, what did you think? And I truthfully was like, I think it's too hot for me to race it. Like I don't like this level of heat. I'm not cut out for it. Brits really aren't cut out for it. I mean, if I stay in the sun, I'm going to be the same color as my suit. And luckily, then came back to Indy, and there was a season, and I was like, oh, thank God it's cold. Just so then. But people laugh, but I meant that. Like, there was a moment where I wobbled, and I thought, this is too hot.
Well, I'm glad, and our fans are glad that you didn't wobble. And in fact, you are an oval racer because you picked up a win at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in 2015 on the Freedom 100, which we put on pause for a period of time. But how special was that to pick up that win on the oval for a guy who spent his entire life really on road courses?
Actually, I really think that was quite a career shift for me. Even talking with like Sam Schmidt at the time was a team boss, and he said, don't underestimate like what this might mean. And to be honest, I think that really is what helped me break into IndyCar in the first place. And even when we did the deal with, Michael Shank at the time, when known as now it's MSR, one of the first things we chatted about was, okay, you've won on an oval, so like clearly you've got some aptitude for this. And I think that's the bit that people still forget. There aren't any ovals in Europe. When I came to America, although I was still 20, 21 years old and been, go-karting for years and open wheel racing for years, I'd never driven an oval. Like, not ever. The first oval I ever drove was at Homestead. Mm-hmm. And I remember my first laps on the Indy Lights car at IMS. None of that, that doesn't compare to my first few laps in the IndyCar there. I mean, that was just some of the most special moments I've ever had, because it's years of work to get there. Like, it's not like anyone just says, oh, go and do this. So then winning the Freedom was massive. And again, I'd been living in Indy for, about 18 months at that point, and was really starting to make friends, meet people. And then when suddenly, your honorary home race is also the largest race in the world, it's pretty neat. Mm-hmm. So then when you have that kind of success, it just, it adds an extra amount of gravitas to it, and it was really sweet. I would love it if the Freedom came back. We chatted about it. Don't know how, really meant to say that too publicly, but it was just a huge moment in my career. And, there's so many talented guys in lights right now who I think deserve an opportunity to go and compete for that. It would be pretty neat to watch them try.
I mean, it's definitely something we're keeping on the radar. I mean, we're trying to make sure that we do that in a safe way, as you know. I mean, it's going from no experience on an oval to that one, especially as close as the racing was.
It's a lot.
It is a bit of a challenge. So I think eventually we'll get there. We just got to do it in the right way.
Well, to be honest, one of the greatest finishes I've seen at IMS ever was the Freedom 100, and I think that was in 2013. That was the year before I came here. 4 wide, 3 wide through like most of the final part of the lap. I mean, that's pretty. It's a bit sketchy, got to admit. However, again, when you see these big races, it normally draws out that level of, not aggression, I look at it as desire to win. That hunger to win, that desire to win. And that's why you see so many people when it's time to win the 500, just lay it all on the line. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't.
Takuma and Dario.
Exactly the
perfect
thing I was thinking of. And you then look back and go, well, why are people so hungry to do it? And you realize because it's probably as cool a thing as you can achieve in not just motorsports, but sports.
Absolutely. So last question for you.
Oh yeah, serious one, yeah. Okay.
No, that was awesome. That was great. You're a Brit.
Yeah.
Memories of Dan Wheldon at all for you?
Yeah. Oh, totally. I mean, I feel like he set the modern path to North American racing, really, because his career, the way that he went from go-karting to the 500 really is one that I think did pave the way for people who were in Europe looking to come to America at that time, and kind of since, and certainly when we were looking at making the jump, we had chatted to people and they had, been with Dan and they had helped him and whatnot. And it guts me to say this. I never met Dan, but like throughout go-karting, he was achieving such amazing things in IndyCar that obviously we all know who he was. He won the 500 twice. I remember watching his final one,
right,
and just thought it was amazing, really.
Yeah.
And but so I got asked this the other day. The Indy 500 is a huge motorsporting event. To everybody, if you love motorsport, you're pretty much going to try and watch Le Mans. You're going to catch Formula One when you can, and you're going to watch the 500. And I remember watching Dario win the 500. Like these, and especially I'm biased. Brits would love to see, us win it. But I think the thing that's cool is all the Brits I feel like have won the 500. They came with a passion of the speedway and at least racing in North America. Yep. It wasn't just flip it, I'll just come and do it one time, whatever. Like it felt like everybody really was invested in it. And when you look at the Borg Warner, the Brits that have won it, it's a pretty special list of people.
It's a really great group.
I mean, it's like as an elite of British motorsport is even what they've compared to and won in F1. I mean, that list of Indy 500 winners and Formula One world champions who are British is on par.
It's pretty powerful.
It's very powerful. Yeah. And that's some of them things people ask, why do you do it? And you see that it's been achieved, and at that point, there's a sense that it could happen. Let's try.
Absolutely. Well, there you go, Indianapolis Motor Speedway fans. He's a Brit, but he's also a Hoosier and a American guy. He's been here for 10 years. Has become one of the favorite drivers in the NTT IndyCar Series, and certainly at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Enjoy Tax Day and Tax Week. We just celebrated his birthday, and we're going to see him in a race car again this May.